Hi, my name is Arturo, and my story is from the Junior Classics collection, published by P.F. Collier and Son Corporation. The name of the story is Zinnia and Her Babies by Marjorie Bianco. The story begins with Zinnia. Zinnia was a small black cat who enjoyed the company of dogs. She would hang out with them. She would take naps with them, and on occasion, she would groom them if they were untidy. There was one thing that she loved more above everything else, and that was in humans. She didn't like being petted and didn't care for their attention. It wasn't other cats either. She could tolerate other cats, but that's as far as it went. What she loved the most was kittens. It didn't matter who they were from, but naturally she preferred her own. One summer, she was raising a litter of four kittens, and her owners were remodeling their house, so they decided to put Zinnia and her kittens in the barn. But the barn wasn't good enough despite having all the food, water, and bedding that they could possibly need. Zinnia was sneaking out all of her kittens to go outside and enjoy the summer days. So the owners just couldn't figure out how she was doing this. One day they just had a rumbling and some screeching, kind of like when a squirrel was coming down a tree. And they saw Zinnia coming down the side of the barn with a kitten in her mouth. Once they figured out what Zinnia was doing, they decided to just leave the barn door open so it'd be less dangerous for the kittens to get out because she was getting them out anyway. After Zinnia got her way, she decided it wasn't really that important for the kittens to be out necessarily. Um, but I guess she proved her point that she wouldn't be kept in one spot and that she knew better as to what to do with her kittens. Zinnia's love for her babies didn't end with the kittens that she had, or anybody else's for that matter. One day, her owners came home with a baby, a human baby. And when the baby was a few weeks old and taking a nap in the porch, Zinnia went over as the baby was crying and assessed the situation. She decided that she knew what the baby needed and went out into the field and picked a big fat mouse for the baby. She brought this big fat mouse and dropped it off inside the cradle, and the mother saw this happen, picked up the big fat mouse thinking it was a misunderstanding on Zinnia's part and dropped it off to Zinnia's kittens instead. Well, Zinnia went back, grabbed the mouse, dropped it back inside the cradle with authority to show the mother that she knew what she was doing. She's raised a million kittens after all, so she knew what her intentions were. Um, as Zinnia grew older, she still loved to take care of kittens. She cared for the baby and would protect the baby as much as possible. And one day, in her older age, while still raising a litter of kittens, found a second litter of kittens that had lost their mother a few weeks back. Um, they were old enough to crawl around and be a little independent, but they still needed a mother. So Zinnia went over naturally and picked them up and added her into her own. And that just kind of shows the kind of cat that Zinnia was and the love that she had for other kittens, and that it didn't matter um, where the kittens were from, as long as Zinnia was around, they would be taken care of no matter what. And that's the end of that story about Zinnia and her babies. Thank you.